Pokemon ignores other Pokemon's stat changes when taking or doing damage. This includes evasion. So the idea is if the opponent is setting up Minimize, Double Team, Stockpile, Curse, Swords Dance, Dragon Dance, any setup, doesn't matter. That if the opponent is at plus 100 attack, Quagsire does not care. He through just the sheer power of will, he makes it to where anything the opponent has done doesn't matter, and then becomes almost unstoppable because it can set up. It can use Stockpile, and now it is a Hyper Tank that can't be set up against. That if Quagsire gets that in, it doesn't have to worry about anything, which is why it doesn't care. Now let's go and look at some sets for Quagsire. So mostly you can put everything into that special defense and the hit points. That way you're going to make yourself a really balanced tank, which goes really nice with Stockpile. Stockpile, one of my favorite moves, talk about it a lot. Raises defense and special defense by 1, which means if you're going up against a physical Pokemon and you get some stockpiles going and they bring in a special attacker, well, now you're already set up against them, so you really don't have to worry about anything. And then when we look at the stats, 227, 229, and almost 400 on the hit points, you're going to be soaking up damage really well, and Quagsire can make great use of that. Now, the reason why we don't really care about the offenses either is because Infestation Toxic. That you see a Pokemon come in, and if you're already set up Infestation, then you can Toxic, and then they can't switch out, and now they're gone, and you have your own Sustain in the form of Recover. Really, the biggest problem for you is going to be Toxic, and by then, you're already Infestation Toxicing people. So you can maybe get a couple of rounds out if you do get Toxic or outstalled. But for the most part, if your opponent is very offensive and you have a stockpile or trying to set up stockpiles, you can find that in, if they have a Pokemon that can't really handle Quagsire, you just use Infestation, get the stockpiles going, use Recover, and now your opponent's done for. That once you get that set up, they can't outpace you on that offenses, and then you're just good to go. Also, Quagsire, I was thinking you could take a different approach. You can go full defensive, full hit point investment, try to bring it in on a physical Pokemon, and then you use Amnesia. Amnesia is going to raise your special defense by 2, which means now you're just gaining ridiculous stats. That on that first usage, bam, doubled special defense, and now you're over 300 on that special defense with great defense and great hit points. Also, you can carry Scald on this set. Scald has a 30% chance to burn the target, so that means that if they get burned, then their attack is cut in half, which makes your defense effectively higher. Also, you can use Scald on this set. The reason why I don't have it, it is interesting to run with Toxic. That Scald, since it has that chance to burn, you can't Toxic your opponent. But if the opponent can't be Toxic, then Scald's going to work anyways. So it's kind of just setting up where you need it. That if it's a physical Pokemon, use Scald, try to go for that burn. And also Scald is just going to be damage on its own. If it's a special Pokemon, go for the Toxic. Or if it's a physical Pokemon that isn't very strong and doesn't threaten you, then you can still use the Toxic to try to get through it quicker. As for the items, Leftovers is going to be pretty strong, pretty safe. We can also look at Citrus Berry. Citrus Berry is going to give you a burst amount of health. That while you're setting up those stockpiles, if you take a very strong hit from a very strong Pokemon, getting a quarter of your health back instantly is much better than getting a 16th at the end of the turn. So over time, Leftovers is going to be better, but if you want to get a lot of health really quick to help with that setup, Citrus Berry is going to be better, and then again, you just won't care. Also, Curse Amnesia is a very strong combo. That with this, you can kind of put a little more investment into the defenses. That way your defenses are going to boost, but then Amnesia is going to catch up really quick. We still carry that Recover. And then this last move is going to be your offensive move. Now, it is pretty easy to get gated in this because if your opponent has something that's immune, well, then you're in trouble. Like, say you use Body Slam. Not saying that you would want to put it on set, but now Ghost type's immune you. Well, what about Earthquake? You're a Ground type Pokemon, so naturally you'd want, well, not Earth Power, you'd want a Ground type move. Well, if you have Earthquake, now Pokemon with Levitate and Flying types, so that's going to make it impossible to close out games with that. Now you can also look at Waterfall. I think Waterfall is probably going to be your best bet. Still stab, still physical, still going to carry over really well. But the main problem with this is that if it's a Water Absorb Pokemon on the opponent's team, you're also going to have a bad time, but this at least has the least chances. It's an ability that very few Pokemon have, compared to a typing which many Pokemon have. When we look at this, I was thinking Impish Nature on this set. We can also have Bold Nature and then Bold Nature because we want to get the most out of those defenses. Also with this set right here, you don't necessarily need Amnesia. You can also still be fully defensive and run Stockpile. It's just kind of like what you want to do. That if you already have a special defense tank and you just want to have Quagsire as a backbone against Pokemon that are using Swords Dance or something, this is going to work out really well. Quagsire versus Kangaskhan on neutral ground. Quagsire is going to win in this setup because it has Stockpile and Kangaskhan can't use Power Up Punch. Kangaskhan, I think, only does about 55% of Quagsire's health on that first return. You use Stockpile, that drops down to 30-something%, and then now you can out-recover Kangaskhan with just that one Stockpile, and then you just pace through it like that. That you go Stockpile, recover, Stockpile, recover, Scald. If you get the burn, you pretty much win out from there. Also, Leftovers is going to be very strong on this set, and even then, Quagsire can care a little, but Water Absorb in doubles is also very strong. That when Pokemon is hit by a Water-type move, it heals a quarter of your maximum hit points, and this combos incredibly with Surf. So you just have a very strong Pokemon on your side of the field using Surf, and you can kind of do whatever you want with Quagsire in this situation. Now, I was thinking for this set, you could also use this EV spread with the Impish Nature. So I would just carry that over here. That way you still have a really good balance, and you are a little more defensive oriented since a lot more Pokemon are physical. And with this, I was thinking Yawn Icy Wind, it's going to give you great control over your opponents. That Icy Wind is going to slow them down for your sweeper Pokemon. Yawn is going to force them out or put them to sleep. Encore locks down Pokemon that are trying to set up status really hard. And then another thing you can do is Rain Dance. Rain Dance will set rain, which means now if you have a Pokemon that's using Surf, it's going to be doing more damage. Also, a Swift Swim Pokemon or another Pokemon that benefits in rain is also going to be very strong. And then the Water Absorb is going to make it to where you're getting too much health back too quick. That a quarter at the end of every turn, or not the end of every turn, every time you use Surf, which is pretty much going to be every turn, plus the Citrus Berry means one turn, you're going to get half of your health back, while still being ridiculously tanky and throwing out status and making your opponent have a bad time. Also, you can carry Earth Power. Thinking Earth Power can be, actually, it depends on the Pokemon. If you have a Pokemon that's going to be immune to Earthquake, I could use it. You can also use Earth Power. Try to hit just Steel-type Pokemon really well. So with this, you can kind of do whatever, even Infestation, lock a Pokemon in. Use Infestation, they might not expect the Yawn, they can't switch out, and now you can focus on the other Pokemon because that Pokemon that just got yawned can't switch, so it's going to sleep. And that's Quagsire. Quagsire, strong Pokemon, doesn't care, awesome craziness going on. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a nice day. But in the end, Quagsire doesn't care, he just wants to go and beat things up. I mean, look at that face.
Blood-sucking freak! I'm gonna rip you up and burn the pieces! Quinn ran out of breath toward the...
Welcome back, Wolfpack Verlis here, and this is how to use Kingler. So looking at Kingler's base stats, wait, do that again. 130 base attack. Are you sure? That much defense? Okay, you said it. But anyway, Kingler has some good stats that I really would expect it to see more play from. That your speed isn't terrible, that you do have a low special attack and special defense and hit points, but overall, if you go as like a sweeper, all-out attacker, 130 attack is strong, and that's a good defense to rely on. So overall, not bad. And wait, are you serious against Sheer Force? Why aren't people using Kingler? Legit, let's go and look at the typing. Water type, you know, it just has grass and electric weaknesses. We're not going to be playing it too defensive in most circumstances, but it is just good to know water typing. Again, the mono typings, I expect you guys to have picked up by now. Kind of Pokemon basics, and good job for just kind of understanding what needs to be understood in Pokemon. Hopping into Pokemon Showdown, we have a couple of good Kingler sets, and pretty much what I was thinking was go with the Agility Focus Sash combo. That Focus Sash is pretty much going to make it to where you're going to get an Agility off, which means now you're going to have a crazy amount of speed. Over 250 speed at level 50, that's going to be fast. That's almost 500 speed at level 100, I believe, because it doesn't scale quite the same. But overall, you know, you're going to get that agility, and now your sheer force is going to have tons of damage with that adamant nature, getting just a huge amount of boost right there. That Crabhammer, while not boosted, still going to be a high amount of damage with that 100 base power and the high critical hit ratio. Critical hit doesn't matter too much, unfortunately not affected by sheer force, but overall, it's your bread and butter move, stab, tons of damage. Then we have Knockoff, not affected by sheer force either, but a good move to carry. You can also have Rock Slide, there's a couple other moves you can plug in with Kingler, so that's good right there, but Body Slam is a good one to have. That actually gains benefit from sheer force, and it is just a strong normal type move to have. So you do have a lot of things going for you. Unfortunately, Kingler doesn't have Waterfall. If it had Waterfall, that'd be insane, but Crabhammer, that's the way to go right here. On top of that, I was thinking that you can go with the Jolly Nature, put the speed investment instead. You can run Life Orb this time, and Life Orb is pretty sick because with that, with sheer force, you don't take the 10% recoil damage. So that's really nice, which means you can still have Rock Slide. So Rock Slide is going to get a 30% boost, sheer force boost. and well, Sheer Force with the Life Orb, and that's going to be a high amount of attack that makes up for having the Jolly Nature. So it's kind of like, you know, do you want Knockoff or Rock Slide is essentially the question, or Body Slam or Knockoff or Rock Slide. Any one of those. On top of that, I was also looking into a more health bulky set. That with a Pokemon that's going to be setting up or a physical attacker, since you do have a lot of good base defense, you can make that work in your favor with that good hit point investment. So the idea is that even at level 100, 200 speed, so you're going to be over 400 speed at level 100 with a Jolly Nature, but no speed investment when you do that agility, which also gives you the moves of your choice right here. So if you want like to have some kind of whatever offensive kit, you can make it work. Life Orb is going to give you bonus damage, Sheer Force, etc. But now you're faster after a bit more of a risky setup. So if this is a set you want to take, go for it. On top of that, I was also looking into other things. Hyper Cutter's good. It's not always better than Sheer Force, but when you're thinking about it, that Crabhammer is going to be one of your main moves, so you can actually Choice Band into the Crabhammer with Hyper Cutter and still be alright, and that's going to mostly be a Jolly Nature with the 252. You can also go Adamant and just be a big wall break Pokemon. That Kingler seems like it would be an incredibly strong Pokemon behind Sticky Web, so if you have a way of getting a Sticky Web on the field and your opponent doesn't have a way of removing it, that you can have a lot of good speed priority, you can outspeed a lot of things with the speed investment, and you're still going to have a ton of damage from that crazy high base attack. So just got like Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Hyper Cutter options. I could see Hyper Cutter also working well in double battles. A lot of people running Intimidate, your attack doesn't get lowered by it, so joke's on them. And lastly, I was going for the craziness. With this set, you know, you really more want the shell armor so you don't get crit, is my idea behind this, because what I was thinking was hit point, special defense investment, defensive nature, so go with the Impish, Chesto Resto, Amnesia, Swords Dance. It's insanity, but I was thinking like use your Amnesia, patch in your special defense. You have a naturally high defense, decent, actually your hit points are pretty poor, so you need to put all the investment you can into that. Amnesia, Swords Dance is going to boost your attack really high, and because of Crabhammer, you don't need Sheer Force, so Shell Armor is good to have. Hyper Cutter could be useful, but Shell Armor I think is the one that you're going to want. Chesto Resto for the heal engine, and then you're good to go. On top of that, you could also put Rock Slide here. Just the only real problem with it is Crabhammer can get water absorbed, so Rock Slide you're not going to be really, you can get resisted, but you're not going to be immune walled out. And with that, you could maybe go Sheer Force for the extra damage. It's really up to you if you want to go, I don't want to be crit because I'm boosting Amnesia so high, or Sheer Force, I'm going to try to get a lot of damage where I can. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed learning how to use Kingler.